Welcome, 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 and thanks for stopping by to crochet with me. Today we'll be making a mesh kimono using Lion Brand's Kobu yarn in the color steel blue, and it's a weight 3 yarn, and I'm using a 5mm hook. I'm making this for my mom using a shirt she already had to base the measurements off of. So the size is an extra large, and I'm starting out by just making a foundation chain to match the length of the back panel of the shirt. And once the foundation chain is done, we can go ahead and start the mesh stitch that we'll be using for this project. So I chained about 93 to get the length that I needed, and then I'm going to chain 5 more, which counts as a double crochet and a chain 3. So once you have your length that you need plus 5 more, you're going to go into the 9th chain from the hook. This is going to make that first little mesh square. You're going to do a double crochet into the 9th chain of the hook. So we have our first mesh space, and so you're just going to continue to do the same thing. You're going to chain 3. You're going to skip 2 chains at the bottom and go into the 3rd chain. Double crochet into that 3rd chain, and you'll have another mesh space. And then you're going to continue to do this for the entire row and for the entire body of this project. You're going to chain 3, you're going to skip 2, go into the 3rd one below, and that is how we're going to make our mesh spaces. Alright, and so this is what it should be looking like right now. Our first row of our mesh stitch. And so when we get to the end, we're going to turn our work. We are going to again chain 5. Just to keep my space, I like to put a stitch marker in the 2nd chain of the chain 5, which counts as the double crochet. So I'll put a stitch marker there, so when I come back to the end, I know that that's where I'll be putting my last double crochet. And so once you're finished chaining up your 5, you are going to go into the 2nd double crochet of the row. So there should be 1 double crochet under your hook, and then the 2nd double crochet right next to it. You're going to go into that, and you're going to put a double crochet into that one. Alright, so now you're starting your mesh pattern for the 2nd row, and you're just going to keep doing the same thing. Chain 3, and then skip 2, and then that double crochet underneath, you're going to go into that and put another double crochet on top of it. So that's pretty much it. It's really easy. Once you get it started, it's easy to just continue to keep doing this pattern until you have the amount of rows that you need. This is how it's looking so far. I'm just measuring it up against the shirt since I'm using the shirt as a guide. And at this point, I'm almost done making the back panel. I just have to add a few rows at the top, but I do notice that on the sides, like where the sleeves are, I could use another row or 2. So to get that extra width that I need for the back panel, I just did a shorter version of the mesh stitch pattern that we did for the back panel. I only needed about 2 extra rows of width on each side, so I'm just gonna continue to do this until I get the height that I need, which is 37 rows up. Here is how it looks with the extended rows that I had to do sewed onto the back panel. So now I have the width that I need. And here are the front panels because they're absolutely the same stitch, the same pattern as the back panel. So you're going to do one big back panel, and then the front 2 panels, you're going to connect them. I start by connecting at the shoulder area, and just lining up the two front panels against the back panel and leaving that space for the collar in the middle. And this is how it's looking with the panels connected, and it looks like a vest right now. And I just use a slip stitch to sew them up. So now we are going to sew up the sides, right, so that we can have just the open space for the arm to go through the sleeve. So I just put some bobby pins, those are my stitch markers, up to where I need it, leaving space for the arm. And then I'm just going to do the same thing, slip stitch down to connect the back panel and the front panel. Now every project is different. With this one, I'm just pretty much going into whatever space that I can, go into, as long as it's even. The mesh stitch is lined up evenly. Just go into, that the spaces you need to go into to do your slip stitch and connect the back and the front panels together. So it's not really hard. You just kind of just have to make sure that those stitches are lined up so that when you're finished sewing, everything is laying evenly. And this is how it should look once you get to the end. Just pretty straight and even. This is how it looks with the back panels and the front panels connected. So now we just have to do our borders and the collar. So the border for the sleeve is just going to be a couple rows of single crochets. So I'm going to connect the yarn right at the seam where the back panel and the front panel are connected, and that open space for the sleeve starts. So I'm going to put a single crochet in the mesh space, and then I'm going to put a single crochet into the double crochet space. And that is pretty much going to be the same for the whole way around the sleeve. So one single crochet in the mesh space, one single crochet in the double crochet space. Once you get to the end of the first row of that single crochet border for the sleeves, you're going to, at the seams, do a single crochet decrease to bring the bottom, the base, in a little tighter. So we're just going to do that, and then we're going to connect to the first stitch of the row, and you just connect by doing a slip stitch and making sure that it's secure, and then you're done that first row. So then you're going to turn your work, and you're going to go into that same stitch that you just put the slip stitch in. You're going to go into that same stitch, and you're going to put a single crochet there, and that's going to be your start of your row 2 of single crochets. So for row 2, you're just going to single crochet the entire row all the way around. Once you get to the end, you'll connect with the slip stitch and you'll tie off, and then you will be done with your border for your sleeves. And basically you'll just do the same thing on the other sleeve as well. All right, so this is how it looks when you have finished your second row of single crochets around the sleeve. So, yep, you just do the same thing for both sleeves, and it gives it a nice, clean look. And now that our sleeves are done, the next thing we're going to work on is that inside seam. So I just put a stitch marker to where I wanted the seam to stop. And we're going to do single crochet for this border as well. I connected the yarn at the bottom of the kimono, and I am just doing a single crochet, putting one single crochet in the mesh space and then one single crochet into the double crochet space. So basically just working from the bottom up, and then once I get to my stitch marker where my bobby pin is, that's where I'll stop. I'll turn my work, and then I'll go ahead and go back down the row doing single crochet again. And this is how row 1 looks of that inside border. So we've turned our work, and now we're on row 2 of the inside border, and you're just going to single crochet into every space on the way back down to the bottom. And here we are, 4 rows of single crochet later. Our inside border is complete on one side. Now we just have to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Okay, so this is what it looks like after we've done the inside borders on both sides. It's definitely giving vest right now, but we're going to do the collar next. So we'll be starting at the top corner of the inside border, and we're going to single crochet around to the other corner. So we put our first single crochet in that top corner of the inside border that we just completed. We're going to put that first single crochet there, and then we're going to single crochet all the way around the collar till we get to the other top corner of the inside border on the other side. So just place your single crochets evenly in this part right here where we're still on the inside border, because there's not a clear stitch, so you're just going to do it evenly and make sure that it is nice and neat and even. After we get done those first few single crochets going across the top of the inside border, once we get to the mesh part, we're going to do a single crochet in the mesh space, and then we're going to do a single crochet in the double crochet space. So we're going to do that the whole way around. If you want the collar to be a little looser, you can do 2 double crochet in the mesh space instead of the 1 double crochet. So this is what it looks like after the first row of single crochet is done for the collar. Now we're on the second row, and we're just going to single crochet in every stitch around, and then we do another row. Yeah, we're on our third row now. We're just going to single crochet all the way around, and so this is what it looks like once the third row is done. All right, so this is row 4, and in row 4 we're still going to do the single crochets, but we're only going to do them in the front loop only of the stitch we're going into. So we're not going in through the bottom of the stitch, we're going through the front loop only, and we're putting a single crochet in the front loop only all the way around this time. Depending on how you want your collar to fit, you can always add rows or decrease rows. It's up to you. Starting on the 5th row of the collar, I am doing an increase in this row on each end. So when we turn our work and we start row 5, we're going to put 2 double crochets in that first stitch. and that is how we'll start the increase. And then we'll do a single crochet in every space, so single crochet the entire row. Then in the last stitch of the row, we're going to put 2 single crochets in that last stitch, so there's going to be an increase on both ends of the collar. This is what it looks like now after row 5. It's starting to look like a collar. So now on row 6, we're just going to single crochet into every stitch, no increase in this row. Row 7 is going to be the same thing. You're just going to single crochet into every stitch in the row, no increase. And then row 8, you will increase the same way you increased in row 5. Row 9, row 10, no increase. Row 11, increase. Row 12, row 13, no increase. Row 14, increase. Row 15, row 16, no increase. Row 17, increase. As you continue to work, your collar will start to extend down a little more, and you can actually see the seam where we did the front loop only single crochets. I like to bend the collar there because it helps it lay down a little better. So now we are finishing up with the bottom border, and it's really easy, just doing single crochets all around, starting at the bottom edge. Just put 2 single crochets in the mesh space and then 1 single crochet in that double crochet space for the first row around. So once we're done the first row, we're just going to do 1 more row of single crochet around, and in that row you just single crochet in every space around. And that's pretty much it. That's the bottom border, just 2 rows of single crochet. Last and my least favorite part of the process, tucking in these strings. So just get your sewing needle, pull that yarn through, and hide those strings the best way you know how. And that's it. Our kimono cardigan is done. All the borders, the collar, everything is done and looking really good, nice and neat. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for crocheting with me. Also, if you have any questions about the pattern, just ask in the comments. And this pattern is available on my Etsy. The link is in my bio. All right. Thank you guys. Love you. Bye.